Okay, guys, here we go. This should be fun. I think all of us had our all children have fears, duh, so do all adults. But for the most part, I think our fears tend to be more not necessarily irrational, but not as well informed as our fears are not as well informed as kids as they are as adults. So we all have some pretty strange, bizarre ones. For me, and I'm sure I'll be repeating this throughout the stream as more people come in. If Susan decides, or Susan's successor decides to send out notifications. For me, it was those goddamn flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz. I don't know what it was about those creepy little bastards that freaked me out as much as it did. I mean, even in my day, back in the Stone Ages when I was a kid, we had scary movies and stuff. And they all, they creeped me out. But there was just something so over the top, demented, and evil about those freaking flying monkeys. I will tell you this: if I'm at a Comic Con or something like that, just so you know, and you approach me and you're cosplaying as one of those flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz, I'm gonna do my best to knock you the fuck out. Just so you know, it's instinctive. It's something that I'm going to have to do. So, Surf is here. Max Wolf Gone says my uncle's basement. It's so funny you say that, Gone, because as I was writing the title to this, I was gonna. God damn it, you beat me to it. I was going to say, you know, what is the thing in your childhood that scared you the most, and which uncle was it? God damn. All right, Gon took my joke. Who else is here? Jackson and Mia and Envy and Jill and Barely a Bear and Legionary 4. Legionary says, no joke, I had a sleepover at my grandparents' house when I was 3 or 4. The house is over 250 years old. One night when I was trying to sleep, a face appeared in the corner of the room. That sounds scary shit. That is, I used to have my one aunt I was really close with, and it's not a creepy uncle story. Well, no, I don't think my Uncle Frank was up there. But anyway, when I would stay there, the one house she had sold her one house. She got another house. I would stay, and it was like, it was part of the attic, but it was a finished area. It was a bedroom. And then there was a little door that led to the rest of the attic, the unfinished area. And whenever I would go to bed to go to sleep there and stuff, I would look over at that door, and I was sure as shit that something was going to come out of there and kill me. And I don't even know why, but as near as I can tell, it didn't. If it did kill me, I got better. HD says the dark. I still feel uncomfortable in the dark. That seems to be a lot of kids have issue with that. I never had it bad. I mean, as a child, you're not as comfortable in the dark for sure. But I don't think I ever had it bad enough to consider it a standalone fear. I'm trying to remember. It's a long time since I was a kid. But yeah, I think did a lot of you guys were you afraid of the dark? Zeno says, my largest fear as a child was the weather, surprisingly enough. That's interesting. It was so bad that one dark cloud in my head could turn into a thunderstorm and make a tornado that kills me. I was that scared. That's fascinating, actually, Zeno. I hadn't heard that. I wonder how much of that, and Jack is in with us today, and Jack is really good with psychological study. I wonder if that is typically, Zeno, and it's just a guess on my part, I wonder if that's typically something that happened to you even when, you're talking about being a kid, but when you were even smaller, when you were even younger, something that got stuck in there, some bad experience that you saw or thought you saw with a storm cloud or something. That would be interesting. I hadn't heard that one before. Hi, Ruthie. And Legionary, talking about the face he saw, says the face had a sinister smile, but when my granddad came in, it went away. As soon as he went out of the room, it appeared again. I never slept that night. Now, see, those are I mean, I don't mean to poo-poo away anything anybody saw. Those are more explainable because just with the whole hypnosis thing and studying the subconscious and everything, our subconscious will fuck with us on things like that. Without a doubt, faces, images, there's no question about it. I had another one. Same, actually, it's funny. Same aunt, but in her prior house, because I used to stay at her house a lot. She was my favorite aunt. I had something similar, but this one's easily explained. It didn't dawn on me at the time. But there was, in her other house, the kitchen was in the back of the house. The living room was in the front of the house. Now, when you walk from living room to kitchen, you went through a dining room, and off to the left of the dining room was a bedroom. I can remember as a kid being terrified. When I had to go from living room to kitchen, I would run my chubby little fat ass as fast as I could and waddle right through there because I was sure there was something coming out of that goddamn bedroom. But I didn't put this together until I was much older. That bedroom is where my grandmother, my father's father, and this aunt was his sister, the last I had seen her, that's where she was basically on her deathbed. When she was dying, she was at my aunt's house, and that's the last conversations I had with her and stuff. So I think it makes sense that one was scary to me, but I never put that together till later. All I knew as a kid was I was getting the fuck past that bedroom as fast as my fat little legs would take me. Jack says childhood fears of bad weather is pretty common. Is it? That's cool. It's called astrophobia. I mean, it's not cool to have it. I mean, it's cool to get the knowledge. It's if you're a kid and you're scared of the weather, it's cool. I'm going to laugh. Usually due to a bad experience or if a family member has a health condition. Really? That's interesting. If a family member has a health condition. See, I hadn't heard of that one. That's interesting. See, I like conversations about stuff like this. You learn something. I didn't know that. Trixie says, hello, big fan of your reaction videos. Mine would probably be those monkey symbol toys that had eyeballs that popped out. That's an interesting one too, Trixie, because, well, we've got the monkey thing in common because, with me, it was the monkeys from Wizard of Oz. Yeah, those monkey symbol things were absolutely, absolutely creepy. But that memory of them has been entirely trumped for me by the fact that I absolutely love Phantom of the Opera. And any of you know Phantom of the Opera story at all, the little symbols monkey thing is a big centerpiece of the whole story. So I think any fear that I may have had has probably been replaced by the love of that story. Yeah, that's pretty much what it sounded like, didn't it, Big Green? You're scared of the weather? Nice. That didn't sound unfeeling or uncaring at all, did it? I'm such a dipshit. Nicholas says, I was never scared of most things growing up. Only thing I feared were needles, same as Goku. Oh, I had a friend, Nicholas, my best friend, right through till the day he died, was terrified of needles. And my friend Tom, he was not a fighter at all. Tom was you didn't want to get into a go around with Tom because he was always armed. He had been a licensed gun dealer in New York for decades and everything, big gun enthusiast. But anyway, he would tell people, like a phlebotomist, if he had to go to the hospital or something, he would tell them right up. He said, this freaks me the hell out. Please get that needle in, get it back out as fast as you can, because I'm going to start losing my shit. It was that bad for him. And he never got over that. And this was not a timid guy by any stretch. That was the only fear I know that he had, but he was terrified of them. And like I say, everything else, no issues. It's funny how certain things just get in your head. And he didn't know why it was there. He had no idea why that fear was there. Brax had a fear of needles for a long time, but we knew why. I think I told you guys that story. I could tell you again if you wanted. But that was, and I almost went to jail the night he got his fear. Jill Snacks says, Bloody Mary. I got a fright walking past my mirror. Ooh, creepy shit. The old Bloody Mary thing, that's creepy. That's creepy. Zeno says, yeah, my mom took me to the Rainforest Cafe for my birthday once. Oh, we've been to Rainforest Cafe. We went to the one in Disney Springs, down in Disney. Absolutely terrifying. There's ambient thunderstorms all over the cafe. That's right, Zeno. I didn't think of that. Yeah. Yeah, the Rainforest Cafes, the food is good. The atmosphere is fun, but they're extremely loud, aren't they, Zeno? I mean, even before the thunderstorms and everything start, the restaurant is so loud that because the Rainforest Cafe and T-Rex Cafe are owned by the same company, and they're both experience restaurants where you go for the experience, but they're both extremely loud. That would be a freak out if you already had an existing fear of that. I never thought about that, Zeno. Yeah, I like the restaurant, but we don't go back much just because the nature of the restaurant is so loud. You can't have a conversation or anything. Retro Mint Man says, I remember around 2003 when Kane was finally unmasked. I was terrified of him. I was probably 7 at the time. Now again, I grew up as a huge wrestling fan. We didn't have, back in my day, once in a while, you'd get like a character that was designed to be a scary character. We had the Wolfman for a while. That was a stupid gimmick they played in the WWE. This little scrawny, hairy dude who would come out with his, not a loincloth, but a Fred Flintstone type outfit on. And it aired on Sunday mornings. The shows were all taped in Philly. And they would put a big X over the screen saying censored while he was chewing on his opponent and stuff. But we didn't have cool, scary characters like Kane and The Undertaker. So I could see that. Ours were, even when I first broke into wrestling down in New Mexico, we had a guy working with us. He actually got pretty popular for a while in New Mexico and Texas, the whole Southwest. El Monstro, the monster. But he did a Frankenstein's monster gimmick. But yeah, as a kid, there was, who else do they have? They never went for that scary thing all that much, that over-the-top scary. I can remember Wolfman, and there was one other, but I can't remember who it was. Zeno says, I think one of my brother's newest fears is you, Curtis, me. That's a fair fear. When he notices I'm watching your content and you creep up over your desk with the light behind you and your eyes while talking about Goose, that's understandable. Zeno, I gotta side with your brother on that one. The creepy fucker who does that should probably be removed from society. I'm with him. Kyle says, the dancing bear on Teletubbies. I don't know if I remember the dancing bear. Now you got me wanting to look that up. And the Rugrats episode where Angelica had that bad dream about her little brother. I don't think I know those, Kyle. Rugrats, I watched. I like Rugrats. I thought it was a good show, a good cartoon. But I haven't. Maybe I've seen a quarter of the total episodes. I haven't seen it. You got me curious. Hold on for just a second, guys. I'm gonna search Dancing Bear on Teletubbies. I don't remember that. I hated the Teletubbies. I was glad none of my kids ever got into them. Cause I don't know who that is. Oh, he's kind of a creepy looking fuck. Turn off the audio. We don't need any problems here. I'm just scrolling ahead on the video. Okay, he comes down. Oh, and he's in a little carousel toy-like. And then he comes out. Yep. That is some quality nightmare fuel right there, Kyle. That is... I can't believe that the producers of that show didn't think that was creepy. Or maybe they're just fucking with kids. That could be too, huh? Because that's messed up right there. That's some creepy shit. Jill says, 4 years ago, I remembered I heard my sister and her friend in the bathroom playing Bloody Mary, so I just had to bang on the door. Oh, when you got something like that, that's the worst. Yeah, and then they're playing that game. I know because I always tried to do the right thing by my own kids. My older stepdaughter, now you guys know Renee, my disabled stepdaughter. I have an older stepdaughter as well. And I don't know, she's probably 14 or so when the movie Sling Blade came out, and she was so freaked out by that character. Uh, Thornton. What was his first name? Billy Bob Thornton. She was so freaked out by that character. Well, that delighted me. So whenever I would walk by her room, I would just pause for a second at the door and go, some folks call it a sling blade. I reckon. She would scream, stop it, Mom. Because I'm not going to pay for her therapy. What do I care? Jack Queen says, I was terrified of silence. That's interesting. Still remember the fear when I was alone and there was no background noise. Still don't like it. That's interesting. Wow, this is a good conversation. This is even better than I thought it was going to be. I could see that. I could see that. Well, great. Thanks, Jack. Now I'm scared of silence, too. Now that you mention it, it's like, that's a reasonable fear. God damn it. Okay, I think I'm going to kill this stream before you guys put any more power. I'm a very suggestible person. HD says, ironically, I don't fear death because it's part of the cycle, life, death. Yeah, same sort of. Hey, as I've gotten older, HD, me either. And for me, it came more as I aged because, not that I'm looking forward to die. I'm hoping I got a lot of years left of doing just this type of thing with you guys. But I'll tell you, you really start to see the natural progression of thing and how death is like, okay, it's gonna be here, and I get why. Oh, let me grab. I'll get to the next super chat in just a moment. Let me get to Big Green's link here. He's got Kane did look kind of scary during his initial unmasking. I'm gonna click his link, but I know exactly what we're looking at. I remember that distinctly. It was that was well done. Yeah, with this hair partially shaved and everything. That's what I mean. They didn't, in my day, because I was a wrestling fan as a kid. In my day, they didn't have anything nearly that scary. Now, hold on a second here. This is new. What does this mean? Gulag Batman, I appreciate it. My friend, he says, I watched Event Horizon 1997 as a 10-year-old kid in 2010. I'm still in therapy at the age of 23. Oh, shit. All right, now I got to look that up, too. But do you guys, are you guys, I don't know if I'm the only one seeing this. Are you guys seeing now, not on the chat on screen, not on the chat that I put up with Streamlabs, but on the YouTube chat, under Gulag Batman, it says, there's a prompt that says, celebrate the first super chat from Gulag Batman. We've never seen that prompt before. Is that something, it's not hyperlinked? Is it just, is this, oh, I wonder if it's, now here, of course, I read every super chat. We read every single super chat that's ever been super chatted. So I wonder if that's just like a notification for streams where they don't necessarily read every super chat and they want you to realize it's the first. Well, Gulag Batman, you should feel honored. You're getting celebrated today. Let's all celebrate Gulag Batman because Susan told us to. That's kind of neat. I've never seen that before. Wait, I want to look this up. I just want to see like a movie poster or something. Because now again we're on to something I'm not familiar with here. Event Horizon 1997. Event Horizon, a rescue crew investigates a spaceship that disappeared into a black hole. Oh, hold on, let me get more details. That was just a... Come on, now I can't find it. In the year 2047, a group of astronauts are sent to investigate and salvage the long-lost starship Event Horizon. The ship disappeared mysteriously 7 years before on its maiden voyage, and with its return comes even more mystery as the crew of the Lewis and Clark discover the real truth behind its disappearance and something even more terrifying. Sounds creepy as shit. I'm not familiar with that one. Boy, you guys are bringing a lot of new stuff to me today. And Willie's in. He says, last post, please. All right, let me scroll up. Willie says, so as a kid, I was diagnosed with basically extreme paranoia. Oh, that's too bad. So I lived life up until like 12 or 13, afraid of literally everything. That's too bad. It's good that you were able to conquer it, but that's got to be rough. Yeah, As far as mental or emotional, I don't know how do we put that, mental or emotional baggage that you would carry with you day to day, hour to hour, I can't think of anything much worse than paranoia. That would just make life so difficult. I mean, OCD and everything are terrible, but man, just having that feeling of paranoia all the time. Oof. Visual FX guy says, I used to be creeped out by the aliens on Sesame Street who would go yip, 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 yip. The way they just popped up and disappeared was particularly disturbing to me. Isn't this funny how so many of our childhood fears were granted to us by children's programming and stuff? Jesus Christ, what the fuck is wrong with the producers of these things? Just like that dancing bear that we just looked up in the Teletubbies. I don't understand how anybody produces that content, sees that bear come off that merry-go-round or whatever the hell it was and start dancing around and doesn't think, holy shit, that thing's going to kill me. I'd be scared of it now, let alone as a child. HD says, another thing I'm still scared of. Have you ever looked down into a dark lake or into a really dark hole? I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get that. Dark pond, we used to have one, and that used to freak me out a little bit. Yeah, I understand I don't have that fear to any level of severity, but it's definitely a feeling of uneasiness. I get that one. Oh, okay. Jack says I was modding Tekken 101's latest One Piece chapter stream. That celebration for a super chat thing is all over the place. Is it, Jack? I've never seen that one before. There's got to be something new they rolled out. Celebrate the first super chat. Huh. Yeah, that's a new one. Philip says, biggest fear as a child? Any villain that would transform the heroes into something else. There was an episode of DuckTales that scarred me that way. Same with the donkey scene in Pinocchio. Isn't that, like I say, that's, I guess it kind of tends to follow. I guess it kind of makes sense that a lot of our fears as kids were generated by children's shows because that's what we would have been consuming. But it just seems like there were no adults that realized, because most of these things that have been mentioned, even as an adult, you look back at them and it's like, yeah, that was some creepy shit. At least the only thing I can say, I can give them a pass on mine that it was the flying monkeys because they were supposed to be scary. But some of the other things that you guys have mentioned were things that were just supposed to be part of the story. And certainly, like in Teletubbies, you're aimed at a very young audience, and to come up with something that creepy. Not that the Teletubbies themselves weren't kind of creepy. Oh, Gulag Batman took over his stream box too. I didn't even catch that. Solaris says, biggest fear as a child, stairs. I used to play a game where I took a tent to the top of the stairs, went into it, and pushed it down the stairs. Got hurt once, and that was that. I think that one would make sense in the respect that as kids we would all tempt fate or do things that are just kind of dumb because we wanted to see what would happen, and that generating a fear, I could get that. Yeah, Jack says something we trusted betraying or changing as a child is terrifying. 100%. And that's the part that really gets to me, though, is just what I was saying. Even as an adult, some of these things that you guys are talking about, you look at them as an adult and go, holy fuck. If that, I'll tell you right now, that Teletubby thing, if that little merry-go-round or whatever the hell that was lands, and that dancing bear comes to life off that thing, I'm beating the shit out of it. Even as an adult, it's like, nope. You gotta go. I'm getting the axe. Visual FX guy says, I recently saw a list by a YouTuber called Blame It on George or Jorge about creepy kids show characters from around creepy kids shows characters from around the world. You should react to it sometime. You'd be shocked how truly disturbing they are. I don't know if after this conversation, I don't know if I could, FX guy. I'll be pissing my bed. I would, yeah, but that would be interesting, actually. Oh, Madman, the scene from Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Know that movie well. I used to watch as a kid all those Don Knotts movies. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, where Don Knotts stumbles on the painting of that lady with the garden shears in her throat, gave me a fear of old paintings with blank-faced women. That was, yeah, that I saw that movie as a kid as well. Excuse me, and that was creepy. That was really creepy. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. That movie in itself used to scare me, but that was one of my early scary movie things. But yes, that used to scare me too. Kyle says the Magic House is even creepier than the Dancing Bear on Teletubbies. Really? I mean, because I was used to joke about that and observe how creepy the Teletubbies themselves were, and I still stand by that. But that, like I said, that Dancing Bear and now Magic House too. Again, who are these adults that I think this stuff is a good idea? They're just, all the adults are just fucking with kids. That's what it is. Hornby Man says peeing the bed is normal. Well, especially when you get to be my age, pal. Visual FX guy says one of the shows on that list was a Japanese show where a lady wore shirts with actual English profanity on it. Really? It's kind of funny, actually. Jill says, speaking of Dancing Bear, that one episode from Gumball about safety from strangers, the way he waves and the voice was distorted. I got scarred for life. How did I miss that one? Got me curious now. Gumball, safety from strangers. Let me take a look, see if I can see something about that. Because I love Gumball. Hold on, guys. I'm just taking a peek. The safety. Oh, okay, I'm seeing some video of it right here. Oh, yeah. Watch out, little Teddy. See, that's creepy, but I think he goes to grab the cookies in the oven without oven mitts. Oh, that's your main problem, Barry. You're stupid. Yeah. The only thing I can say in this instance, though, that is par for the course with Gumball. Having something that creepy and weird. But yeah, I can see where that would freak you out. Oh, excuse me, guys. Sure, it's nothing important. Nope. We don't even go to Papa John's very often. I haven't been to Papa John's in ages, and I get texts from them like every other minute wanting me to go buy a pizza. Devil Jinx says watching the presidential debate. OP and Joe replied to Trump over Thriller Bark. Joe, at least Zorro has the decency to shut up and say nothing happened. Yeah. That would be good. Yeah, and nothing happened. That still is one of the great moments of all time. Edgar, good to see you, pal. Cocaine Bear versus Dancing Bear versus Revenant Bear in a triple threat match. Who wins? I wouldn't put anything. I wouldn't put anybody over Dancing Bear from just that little bit I saw. Have you any of you guys seen Cocaine Bear yet? Is it really as good as people say? I've heard mixed things. I've heard some people say you got to see it, and I've heard others say that's the dumbest shit I've ever watched. And Derek says, "Hi Curtis, love watching your videos. Thanks. From Walking Dead, I got to know you. Oh yeah. Oh, that game was amazing. I assume that's what you're talking about, the gameplay. Oh, that's been my favorite game of that style, of that genre that I've ever played. Really, Wolverine? He says, sharks in the neighborhood pool was my fear. That would, and too, I don't know if this happened, Wolverine, but that sounds too like something that other kids would try and put in another kid's mind, you know? Oh, don't jump in there. There's sharks. There's sharks. There's sharks. Hurry up. Get out. That's what, when you said that was your fear, that's the first thing that came to me. That sounds like something that some little shits tried to instill in you on purpose. HD says the quality of older cartoons also scares me. That's fair. He-Man is still good, to be honest. I recently watched a few episodes. Yeah, He-Man wasn't bad. My older son was way into He-Man. It's sad how old I am. My older son is 40. Jeez. I'm old. Visual FX guy says, I hate sharks, but only because of that god awful Baby Shark song. Well, that a very close friend of mine, when we lived in New York, she was staff for Renee, my disabled daughter, Carrie, and we've just become so close with her and her family. Her little girl, who was the sweetest thing in the world, little Jade, got into Baby Shark for a while. And Carrie was so goddamn tired of listening to that Baby Shark song. So every time I went to a store and saw anything with Baby Shark, especially something that would play that song, I bought it for Jade. Because you have to do that. Mama Shark, do 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 do. Oh yeah, Andrew, she just got to where she hated it. But at the time Jade was maybe not quite 2, and at that age, or at 61, you listen to the same thing over and over and over. You don't want to change. Willie says, one of my biggest fears stopped me from chasing a potential dream job. I've been fascinated with sea life since I was born, and I would have become a marine biologist if the ocean void didn't scare me. Wow. That's unfortunate. Wow. Now, see, I've always, and this is just another one of my many stupid little idiosyncrasies. I don't like having fears, so I don't have a lot, because I will go out of my way to try and conquer them. And this is, trust me, I'm not giving advice by any means. I think fears can be actually healthy. In some cases, they're good for you. It's just a demented little bit I have. But I think I told you guys that. I can never remember the name of it. You guys will know. I always had that fear, that disturbance of perfectly shaped holes that a lot of people have. And it really freaked me out. I mean, if I looked at a picture, it would be like, it would set me aback. I didn't like it. So I took for probably a few weeks, whenever I had videos rendering or something, I would just go through and I would look at those pictures over and over and over and stare at them until it stopped freaking me out, because I don't like having that. What's worse, Lit Right Now or Baby Shark? For me, Lit Right Now. That was horrific. But for my friend Carrie, it's definitely Baby Shark. Lex says, the fuck is that thing in the thumbnail? It's kind of hot, not gonna. That's one of the flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz, Lex. That was my thing as a kid. Those things scared the shit out of me. That's right, too. We've been streaming for a while now, and I said it at the top of the stream. That was the thing that scared me the most as a child. Those goddamn flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. And as I had said earlier, just so you guys know, if you run into me at some point at Comic-Con or something like that, and you're cosplaying for whatever reason, because I know it happens, as one of those flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz, and you come up to me, we're gonna fight. I'm swinging, just so you know. Excuse me. Philip says, now that I'm an adult, I'm afraid of heights. So is my dad and my brother. In fact, everyone that I know who's tall is afraid of heights. My father had a fear, not necessarily just of heights, but of bridges he was afraid of. I don't think I have a fear of heights. I think I have a healthy respect for heights. By that I mean, I go up and work on roofs, have many times. I used to work on my own roof at home, and when we had our house in New York, and I don't have a problem with it. It's not something I look forward to doing, and I certainly wouldn't be one of those construction workers that goes walking across the beams 80 stories up. So I have a respect for heights. I don't think you would call it an overall fear. Tony Texas said, when I was a kid, I was terrified of Chucky. When people ask, Tony, I've even said this on stream before, of the slasher villains, Chucky was the one that scared me the most. There's just something about that creepy little fucking doll. Yeah, I'm with you on that. He was way scarier to me than Jason, or Freddy was scary too, because Freddy, Freddy only existing within your dreams, that was a scary concept to me. It's like, now that works. Jason, it got to be where Jason and the slashers like him didn't bother me at all because it got so stupid, so over the top how they're supposed to be humans. They take an axe to the face and then they're back up and running around in a few seconds. So they didn't scare me at all, but Chucky did. Jack says, "What if it's a sexy flying monkey dilemma?" Oh yeah, I hope. Ooh yeah, I hope they don't put titties on the flying monkeys because then I got decisions to be made. Yeah, thanks, Lex. She says, "Well, now I know what to cosplay as if we ever meet." I hate those fuckers, little shitheads. Andrew says, hey, Freddy scared me because it was a pedo. Yeah, Freddy was scary to me because, again, that one. See, I like, if you're going to have a scary character in a movie or whatever, I like when it made more sense, I guess. And Freddy did, in the respect that he was only in dreams, so all bets were off, and that was terrifying. Whereas, again, like I say, with Jason, or I'm trying to think of some of the other names, but those other characters, once you made them, they're supposed to be humans, albeit demented humans. Once you start making them superhuman, they weren't scary to me anymore. Steve Ross says, my only true fear was my parents. My parents hated each other and would verbally abuse me. Well, that's the worst of childhood fears. I had severe dyslexia and they yelled at me for not understanding. They always made fun of me and talked about me. That's the worst. That, I just can't think of anything. Well, you guys know how I feel about that in general. That familial connections are very important to me, and there's nothing more vile than parents that will do that to their child, to me. Excuse me. That's a solid point, FX guy. He says the scariest Freddy movie by far is Freddy Got Fingered. It sucks so bad it's scary. That's very fair. Nectar says, my biggest fear when I was a child was someone coming into my house at night and murdering my whole family with an axe or a knife. I may have watched too much TV when I was a kid, right? Yeah, I'm with you there, Nectar. I think that fear, if you have a background in watching those types of, which I do as well, those types of movies and TV shows, I think all of us have dabbled with that fear here and there. Yeah, no question about that one. FX guy says the flying monkeys were probably just regular monkeys that drank some Red Bull. I heard that stuff gives you wings. Big Green says Jason was never really human. He was basically undead. Was he, Big Green? See, I don't even remember all the details of the story. I just remember getting and the first one was pretty good and pretty scary. But I just remember as I watched later ones, it just got to be like, he lost this scary edge with the, I don't know, that's stupid to say maybe, but with the inability to be killed. It just was like, all right, so he's OP. I guess that's where I got with it. Edgar says, I remember reading a story, the monkey's paw story, in the English class textbook as a kid, and wishing of the dead son back, and him knocking on the door made me terrified of opening my door. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, getting something like that in your head and be, for whatever reason, be on the way to open your door and having that memory come back. Yep, I can understand that. Wolverine says nudes of Curtis scare me as well. They should. Nudes of Curtis scare me too. Excuse me. 100%. Philip says Chucky is scary as fuck, but you got to admit the guy's got jokes. Yeah, absolutely. I can absolutely respect the comedy grind he's got going. No doubt about it. Krusty says, so what if it's a monkey with mechanical wings? Not actually a monkey with wings, but a monkey being one of those wing diver things. So a flying monkey. For me, it's got to be those specific flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. Complete with their stupid little, what the hell are those? Butler costumes or whatever the hell they wear. No, it's on the thumbnail, the picture. You guys can see it. What the hell was the deal with that? Is that because they were the witch's minions or whatever? So they had to wear the grand poobah hats and dress up like little bellhops, I guess. That's what they were. They're little flying monkey bellhops. HD says, one last fear, a nuclear disaster like Chernobyl. That thought makes my skin crawl. Yeah, that's the only good thing about that is from what I've read up, because I'm a big proponent of nuclear energy, what I've read up on that is at least the technology has advanced so much, obviously, since those days, that while anytime you're dealing with nuclear reaction, there's danger, the chance for anything to go dramatically wrong is very, very limited. Even the meltdown in Japan, as I said before, and if I remember right, many places around the world had warned Japan that it's not a good idea to build a nuclear reactor that far below sea level. And if the Japanese government went, "Oh no, it's going to be fine," they kind of got what they asked for there. Because I do remember reading that they were warned by many people by many scientists saying, "No, that's too low. You can't build it there." And they went, "Oh no, it's a good. We make them more anime. You forget." What the fuck was that accent now? I can't even stay consistent with my terrible dialects. Tony says, speaking of movies, everyone should go watch John Wick 4. It's so good. I've heard that. I have yet to see a John Wick movie. And I love Keanu Reeves. I got to somehow find the time to watch those and catch up. Abby says, do you know some fish at Chernobyl have literally mutated into monsters? Really? I believe it. I haven't watched... I was always been a big fan of those Chernobyl shows and documentaries and stuff like that, because that just fascinates me. I haven't seen that before, though, any reports on the fish themselves. I'll have to watch them again. I haven't watched any of those in a while, I'm sure, because I know people go there on the regular with their, to check on the amount of radiation that still exists and everything. I'll have to watch some. Yeah, Andrew says, we make a more hentai. Not the Cool Whip says, my biggest fear is dying with regrets. It's funny. I don't know if I had a fear, but that was always something I thought about. I've told you guys that before. That's why I've done as many things as I have in my life, because I always said I'm not going to get to the end and say, gee, I wish I would have done that. Or, oh man, that I always wanted to do that and I never gave it a try. That's not going to happen. So it never did. So I've tried a lot of things that weren't all they were cracked up to be. And then I tried some things that have defined my life, like doing stand-up and professional wrestling and all that. Alpha says, that creates life, then proceeds to destroy it in horrendous ways and with a nihilistic tone. I don't know, are we talking about something specific though, Alpha? I might have gotten lost there. Excuse me. The Madman says, Jesus scared me when I was a kid, but not in the fear of God or going to hell kind of way. The painted depictions of him are what scared me, because at the time I thought he looked like a zombie. I hadn't thought about that either, but what Madman says, I could see that. I mean, because as a kid, you see a lot, as he says, these paintings, pictures in books, whatever. And Jesus is typically always depicted with big-ass freaking spikes through his hands, laying there with his head. That would be creepy as hell. I didn't think about that, but that one entirely makes sense. Excuse me. Oh, Biggie G, Jack says. Till the end of time says, my biggest fear was getting eaten by sharks like the movie Jaws. Well, when Jaws came out, and I know a lot of you guys weren't around for that like I was, but holy crap. I have never seen any movie come out with any more hype than Jaws did. And that was back in the days long before social media. And everybody was talking about that movie and how freaked out they were by it and everything. That one never scared me all that much. I thought it was great. I liked the movie. But it wasn't one of the super scary ones to me. But a lot of people, if I remember right at the time, beach going in America was down. People weren't going to at least the beaches at the ocean. were down. People were freaked the hell out. Dominic says the first two Saw movies scared me when I was a kid. That damn doll creeped the hell out of me. Yeah, yeah. Jigsaw, yeah. Those are scary. I'll give you that. The Saw movies, and I think I've seen the first three. I think it's been a while, but yes, I agree with that. Those are scary. That's why I kept watching them. Those gave me a good scare. Well, when you're dealing with something that diabolic and that over the top, that was scary. And you're right. The whole Jigsaw himself it's well done. That's a perfect character to be delivering such interesting scenarios to people. Not the cool Lip says ventriloquist dummies are made in the devil's image. I swear, I know a few people who are scared of ventriloquist dummies. I used to like ventriloquism when I was a kid, and I had one when I was a kid, just a little cheap one, and he was a creepy looking fuck. He was. And then as I grow older, I don't know why, because I worked when I was doing stand up with ventriloquists on a few occasions, and I did nothing but make fun of them on stage. I don't know. Maybe because I didn't live my childhood dream of becoming a ventriloquist. Maybe I was bitter. I don't know. But that and bad magicians. I don't mind magic, but so many magicians are just terrible. And well, that's a story for another time. But there's nothing to brag about because I guess I went too far over the top. I actually made this dude cry. A magician. He was awful. He was host at this house we were playing, and one of the other comedians said, "Dude, he was back here. He was actually crying." He goes, like, "Oops, sorry. I guess you're going to be a magician. You shouldn't be thin-skinned." Wolfpaw says, "Were you ever scared of roller coasters?" Intimidated for a short time. I had some that I didn't do. I think if I'd have had the right encouragement, if I'd have been there with peers or something and not just my parents, I probably would have done them. But that was short-lived. Once I started doing roller coasters in any number, I loved them. So that was for a very short time. That which creates life then proceeds to destroy it in horrendous was and with a nihilistic tone. Oh, yes, I read that from Alpha. Krusty says, my biggest fear as a kid still kind of persists now, but in not when I handle something I make from scratch, was exposed electrical wires. That's fair. That's a reasonable fear to have. It used to drive my wife nuts when I would work on electrical in our house. That our house was old. It was built in 1860, and the wiring was just dog shit. So a lot of times it was difficult to discover which circuit breaker would kill a certain area of the house. So if I was working on something, I didn't want to shut the power down to the whole house. So if I was working on something that was just 110, I wouldn't turn it off. I would just work on it. And invariably, at some point while you're working with the outlet or whatever you're working with, you're going to touch both of them. And oh, it didn't bother me. It used to freak my wife out. Please go shut it down. She'll go, please go shut it down. It's 110. It's gonna make me go, yoo-hoo, that's it. And she hated it. Oh, your comments are getting blocked? Sorry about that, Alpha. Once again, I'll say it. YouTube, why ask us if we want stuff censored if when we say no, you're going to do it anyway? Okay? Alpha says, scary thing I saw growing up was a stop-motion film called Adventures of Mark Twain, where they meet a mysterious stranger in another dimension that turns out to be a version of biblical Satan. Holy shit. Wow, I'd never heard of that one. Goddamn, Mark Twain had some adventures I did not know about. Andrew Wilson, who's part of Size Doesn't Matter, our our YouTube group here, says Unsolved Mysteries scared the hell out of me. Oh, Unsolved Mysteries, yeah, that depending, not across the board, but yeah, some of them get to me. Those unsolved mystery shows, yeah, some of them make you really take pause for a moment. Well, again, after doing this stream, I'm already going to have a whole fistful of fears I never would have imagined now that you guys have suggested all this to me. HD says, "Do you like calamari?" No, even if it's monster like in Pirates of the Caribbean. No, I don't. I don't like calamari anyway. So I ain't eating that octopus, that squid, or anything, no matter how big it is. Edgar says, "I remember watching the Stephen King's It miniseries at a friend's house when I was 5, and going home after sunset and reaching the porch and afraid to go in the house. My mom came and got me." That I understand, Edgar. And the Stephen King miniseries, or the It miniseries, is one of the great irritants in my life because, like you, I love that. It was good. That storytelling was amazing, so good, and then the ending sucked. And I love great endings. You guys have seen that in the anime reactions and stuff. I just love a good ending. And that ending, invested all that time over that many nights, and that ending was stupid. And then years later, I'd mentioned her earlier, as a matter of fact, my same friend, Carrie, she likes horror movies. I like horror movies. My wife doesn't like them. Her wife doesn't like them. So we would sit and, whenever we had time, because she was our staff with my disabled stepdaughter, whenever we had time, we would watch them together. Her and I actually went to the movies and saw it. We saw the first It movie, the remake, at the theater, and then watched the second one streaming, and those were good. I was going to be so pissed if I got another bad ending, but yes, that TV series pissed me right off with the way it ended. Yeah, I know, Jack. He says it's the silence, Curtis. I'm telling you, like you're about to be attacked or scared any second. Fucking awful. And again, I'd never thought of that, and that one resonates with me, even though it hadn't been a fear of mine. It's like, oh, fuck. Now I got something to contend with. Elsie says, "I was scared of thunderstorms." I think we were talking about that earlier. I think that seems to be pretty common. Huh. And Jack was saying that indeed it is very commonplace for people to be scared of weather. That's understandable. Thunderstorms are, just by their nature, intimidating. Lick says, damn, bro, you're friends with lesbian space." Not only am I friends with them, Licks, that's why I was the officiant at her wedding. I went and got certified and everything. I got that thing somewhere. Well, one of you guys in the streams actually got me certified through the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. So I'm certified with them. And then this other ministry, I went and got certified so I could perform their wedding service. The one and only wedding service I've done was a lesbian wedding. I think I have it in here. Hold on, I'll show you guys. So I kept it. I can't do it now because it's state by state. There it is. I had it right here somewhere. Universal Life Church. Credentials of Ministry. My children, please. Yeah. I can do weddings. Tsunami says, "I was raised by religious parents, so hell scared me a lot. They threatened me with it constantly." Yeah, that I know some people who are in a similar situation with you, Tsunami. I think that never been a fan of pumping that type of fear into someone. I guess, your religious beliefs are what they are, but I don't know. There's enough scary things in life. You don't have to pound your kid with that, too. Yeah, Kobe. Russell, or everybody calls me Rusty. Well, actually, there's more people in the world that know me as Curtis than do by my real name. Way more. Lick says, The universe is fragile. It could end at any time, and it's a miracle that it hasn't collapsed on itself yet. True. Something I learned very young and combined with death anxiety I got when my grandpa died. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a tough one with what Lix is describing because it's so, I guess, magnificent in its scope. The concept of everything and how easily, as she said, it could collapse in on us and be no more. Excuse me. Jack says, snakes. I hate snakes. I was swimming in a lake in Italy, and I saw over a dozen snakes swimming underwater toward me. Oh, scarred. Okay, I'm not scared of snakes, and that would have scared me. Oh, shit. Well, when I was a kid, I think I told you guys that we lived out in the country, and we would go catching snakes all the time. So I never had that fear because like I say, we're always catching them and running around with them. Edgar says, imagine Golden marrying couples in one of your live streams, and then he ends the ceremony by saying, kill your family, kill your family. Yeah, that would be Golden. Yeah, but that's why I went out and, did the paperwork to get the meet the requirements I needed to, was so I could perform their wedding. I have the video of it somewhere. I would check with Carrie first, obviously, before I showed you guys. I'm positive she wouldn't care about me showing you guys clips of it. Willie says, my biggest fears now are 1, snakes, 2, heights, 3, voids, 4, women. Yeah, I know. Well, and Jack just added silence to mine for me. Thanks, because now I can never let the world around me be silent again. Seasick Viking says, my big fear growing up was either spiders and lobsters. Well, lobsters are some creepy looking bastards, and my wife is terrified of spiders. I mean, to extreme degrees. I won't even, and me being the douchebag that I am, I won't even mess with that fear on her. That's how bad it is. If I have to go kill a spider or something for her, I won't pick it up and, oh, look at this. 'Cause she's just so scared. The silence of the lambs. Yeah, Big Green. Really? HD says, I hate the full moon. I never sleep well when it's full moon. That's different. I hadn't heard that one before. Rigid Rat says, not really a fear, but my mom had these creepy angel statues hanging in her bathroom. When I was 5, I had a nightmare where they came to life and piled themselves on me and tickled me to suffocation. I think myself, a lot of religious artifacts and honestly just works of art are kind of innately terrifying. My grandmother had some of these old school, I guess they'd be porcelain. I think they were porcelain dolls. And they were some creepy bitches. So she'd be like, oh, isn't she beautiful? I'm like, no, she looks like freaking dead. She's going to stab me. Bitch is going to eat my heart or something. What do you mean? What, is she pretty? No, she's not pretty. Yeah, those I didn't like those. Austin says, I'm scared of heights. What about you? That came up earlier. As I said, I respect heights. I wouldn't call it a fear. What about you, and when did you join wrestling, and who trained you? I started pro wrestling in, it was 80 or 81 in New Mexico, and I was trained by a number of people, most notably, oh my gosh, his name's gone on my head. Isn't that terrible? Not Bruiser Brody, but his last name was Brody. Jackson Brody. Big Green says, here's a weird one. The Jurassic Park game on Sega scared me. It's probably the graphics. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a peek at Big Green's link. Oh, yeah, it could be the graphics. You know what that made me think of, Big Green? As soon as I saw that looks like the dinosaur ride in Epcot, and I love that dinosaur ride. That's a well done ride. Fortunately, we typically go in groups other than just my wife and I when we go to Disney. We'll meet other people there or whatever, because she can't do it anymore because the dinosaur ride in Epcot is also the most herky-jerky theme park ride I've ever been on. And it's supposed to be, because you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be on the planet in another era when there weren't roads, and you're in this vehicle, and so you're bouncing around with the dinosaurs, and her body can't take it. But that's pretty scary. The dinosaurs that come out at you, and that's what I thought as soon as I saw that, because the one dinosaur whose face comes right out at you looks a lot like that. Jill says, crossing bridges in a car. I was sure it would crumble as we drove over. Hasn't happened yet, but I still don't like driving over them. I had mentioned earlier, my father had that fear. He did not like bridges. Which, and again, being a douchebag, as a kid, I would make sure to point out to him, hey, Dad, we're on a bridge. And like he didn't know because he was driving, but you gotta point it out. Make sure you're good and scared. Excuse me. Luis says, I had a nightmare about this faceless doll in my grandma's house coming at me with a kitchen knife. That's the first nightmare I remember. I'm with you, Luis, because as I said, my grandmother, they weren't faceless. She had those dolls, and again, I think they were China dolls. But fuck those things. They were creepy. I mean, they had those pretty perfect porcelain faces and everything, but there was just something innately, as I said, it's like that thing, there's no question that thing's going to come eat my heart or something. Tony says somebody had asked, can we get Spaz Kid marriage gifts? I wouldn't worry about that yet. They're talking 2 years from now, guys. Their wedding won't be until 2025. And I'll obviously keep you guys posted on everything. And he'll, in what, under 2 months, Brax will be down here with us in North Carolina. So we'll keep you guys posted, but you got a couple of years yet. Lick says, your grandma had Annabelle? I don't remember a lot of details of the dolls themselves, Licks. They're probably, I don't know, maybe like 12-inch dolls or so, but I don't even know enough about them that I could be able to look them up online and give you guys an idea what I'm talking about. But for some reason, I mean, they weren't terrifying to me as a kid, but I didn't like them. And they just made me feel uneasy. Just creepy looking. And she would go on and on about that. And my grandmother was just the sweetest woman you'll ever meet. But she was just in love with them. They're so pretty. They're so beautiful. No, they're fucked up, Graham. Excuse me. Hornby Man says, it's upsetting about my cat. I wish she was still here. You got to give me more details, pal. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Wolfpaw says, sometimes I'm scared my ceiling fan is going to come crashing down on me when I'm sleeping. I think that's a reasonable fear, especially with ceiling fans, because you got that mad rotation, and having to have installed our own on several occasions. Most of the ceiling fans, at least the ones I put up, they're structured so that if the ceiling fan starts to sway from side to side, there is room in there for it to move. It's designed so it can move. That's so if it starts forcing against itself, it doesn't break, it actually gives. So as the ceiling fan gets older, sometimes right from the time it's installed, it can also, as it's spinning, move side to side, which makes it look like, holy fuck, this thing's going to land on me. And sometimes they'll squeak as they do that. So yeah, that would be reasonable. Dimmy says, I had a Bert and Ernie toy, and I had a dream my whole room was red, and they opened my closet door, and I rushed over to hold it shut as they bang on it violently. Fuck Bert and Ernie. They're a couple little creepy bastards anyway. I got your back on that one, Dimmy. I'd have fought Bert and Ernie with you. Alice says, have you ever been bullied? Yes, as a child, I used to get bullied. I was a little fat kid, so I used to get bullied for being a little fat kid, among anything else. Bullies will figure out some reason to bully you. And for me, it was just one of those cases. It wasn't like a giant epiphany or anything. Just all of a sudden I decided, you know what, no more. So I'm going to fight back. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. And as soon as I started fighting back, and listen, this is not advice. This is just the relating of a story. Fighting back is not for everybody. I think everybody should be protected from being bullied. But for me, when I started fighting back, that's when I discovered I liked fighting. And maybe it was because I was bullied, but there was nothing more satisfying than knuckles against the chin and collapsing a bully. But obviously I lost my share of fights too, but then I discovered I didn't mind that either. I didn't mind getting punched. So that's where the whole fighting thing came from. But yes, I did used to get bullied. Homie just said Freddie Fosbury. Oh, Freddie's pretty fucked up. Willie says that wasn't a dream. Bert and Ernie are evil. I would agree with that. Yeah, like I say, I'm with Dimmy on that 100%. I think we should all get together and kick the shit out of Bert and Ernie. Jack says a lot of people can't sleep or act weird during a full moon. Kind of werewolf type thing. The moon reflects the sun's light, which affects levels of melatonin and control testosterone and stress. Really? I didn't know that. That it affects your melatonin levels? Really? I didn't know that. Or affects melatonin, I should say. Yeah, right, Big Green. And now multiple chair shots, manure shovels. We're now here, right? Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because that's how it carried over into my wrestling career. Again, everybody's got to have a gimmick. And mine was, oh, I like violence. That's, yeah. Just, it was an odd thing. I have to admit, you didn't expect it. You know, you spent that time being bullied, and it sucks. I have nothing but absolute hatred for bullies. But then when I decided, okay, I don't care what they do to me, I'm just not going to take it anymore. It was like, I remember distinctly the first couple fights I got into. It's like, this is fucking fun. It probably doesn't hurt that I won those fights. That might have been what I discovered. I didn't know this as a kid, especially when I was young. I had a very unusual amount of strength. I mean, I wasn't like elite level. You know, if I'd have gone another route, I could have broken the bench press record of the world or something. But I was very, very strong for my age. And so that helped because none of us knew how to fight. So when you got into fights back then, just the fact that I had that innate strength would let me win a lot of the fights. Wolfpaw says, I'm fixing to go to town with my dad and go get a haircut. Should I get a mullet? Somebody on the stream just the other day was saying that I should grow my hair out, but do it in a mullet. There might be something more frightening and ridiculous than that, but I don't know what it would be. Avi said to Jack, yeah, I still get them on full moons. I never thought about that. The moon actually, having a physical effect on us. Tony says that's a Goku mindset right there. We don't tolerate bullies. Yeah, I'm sure too. Mine, Tony, came from the fact that I was bullied, but I despise bullying. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why. Because I am somebody who likes fighting. I lived a lot of places throughout this country in my life. Lived in a lot of different areas with a lot of different socioeconomic breakdowns, a lot of different racial breakdowns. And one thing I can tell you is, if you want to fight, there's always somebody else that wants to fight too. So there's no reason to ever bully somebody and try and force a fight with somebody who doesn't want to, unless you're a pussy. That's the only reason to do that. Because if you're really a tough guy and you really like fighting, there's plenty of people who want to fight with you. So if you got to go looking for those who don't, you're not actually a tough guy after all. You're a bitch. Seasick Viking says the only thing more frightening than a mullet is a mohawk. I gotta disagree though. I think mullets are the scariest. A mullet tells you I make some pretty questionable life decisions and I might be armed. That type of thing. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Johnny says, my grandpa showed me The Invaders with Roy Tynes, and that creeped me out for some reason. I've never seen that. I've never seen that one, Johnny. Wolfpaw says, is Spaz Kid going to be in videos again? Oh, I'm sure he might be in here or there. I mean, It's not like when he was at school. He's got a job, he's got work to do and everything. So I don't know, but when I'm taking videos and doing stuff, every so often I'll post things about our lives and everything. I'm sure he will. Silver Fan says, "Have you ever been afraid of your dad's belt?" I knew I got it plenty of times. I don't know if I was afraid of it. The only reason I say I don't know if I was afraid of it is because I would still do the bad thing and get it, and I knew I was going to get it. It was like I learned early on that, and I think this is important, especially for a kid like me, that there were repercussions for your actions. But I can honestly remember making those decisions in real time and thinking, okay, if I want to do this, whatever, and I'm not supposed to do it. Now, if I do it and I get caught, I'm going to get a whooping. And then you think and go, it's going to be fun, fuck it. And you would do it anyway. And if you got caught, you get a whooping. So I was never one of these kids that resented getting spankings because I deserved them all. And now let me be really clear. This wasn't getting beatings. No, talk about bullying. The ultimate bullying is when a parent beats their child. These are spankings. These were something I got as a result for doing something I wasn't supposed to do. And it was a good thing because I was the kind of kid that if you hadn't done that to me, life wouldn't have worked out well for me because I needed that. I needed to have that fear of a big reprisal. Now, Rax, on the other hand, growing up, if Braxton did something that just disappointed you, that was enough of a punishment for him that he wouldn't do it again. He wanted to do the right things. He wanted to do the good things. He was just that kind of person. So he never had to get spanked. But me, if I was going to do a bad thing and all you were going to do is yell at me or something or try and make me feel bad, it's like, okay, that'll work. Yeah. Gee, I won't do that again. You better be willing to whoop my ass. Jill says, "My mom always threatened me with police when I was doing something I shouldn't be as a kid, so my fear of police stemmed from that. I'm mostly over it now, but that similar feeling still lingers." Yeah, that used to be a common thing in my era too, Jill. My parents never really did it, but I used to see that all the time. And I was just, even as a kid, I questioned that. It's like, why? You're telling kids, if there's stranger danger, if there's this, if there's that, see if you can find a police officer. And then on the other side of the coin, you're threatening them with it. Bobby, if you don't stop that, I'm going to call the cops. It's like, what? How about, Bobby, if you don't stop that, I'm going to punish you. Yeah, I never got that. Nectar says, "Getting spanked after messing up for the 10th time after being yelled 9 times is totally deserved." That was totally me. Yeah, me too. Again, I can look back on that. If the biggest threat I had was I was going to get yelled at or somebody was going to be disappointed in me, I wasn't going to stop doing it because whatever I was doing was fun. I wanted to do it. But if you're going to whoop my ass, it's like, okay, that hurts. Then I might still do it, but I'd have to think about it. Then surprise the policeman is a stranger danger. Yeah, right, Lex. Big Green says, "I don't know if I was scared, but I probably shouldn't have watched the Cell Saga of DBZ at my age." Okay, he's got a link. Hold on. Take a little peek. Oh yeah, that was creepy. Oh, I mean, just in general, the old cell suck there was really creepy to watch. Yeah, I agree with that. Seasick Viking says, "The lobster fear comes from my dad bringing live lobsters to bring home for us to eat, then unclip their previously tied claws and chase us around the house." And so many dads, older siblings did that all the time too. See, I never tried. I think I was aware of stuff like that. So I mean, I would bust balls on my kids all the time, but I wouldn't do stuff like that because it's like, okay, they are children and they are impressionable, and it's one thing to screw around a little bit. It's another to do something that might actually give them a fear that they're going to deal with later in life. Wolfpaw says, "Did Spaz Kid ever get into a fight?" Not that Brax never wanted to fight. Brax loves getting along with everybody. He got bullied one time in school, and it was all my wife could do to keep me in check because I immediately, as soon as I heard he was being bullied, I just, it's like I'll get everybody involved. I don't care if it's a kid. I'm gonna get the kid. I'm gonna get their parents. If the school doesn't do something about it, I'm gonna beat up everybody in the fucking school. I mean, I was off the wall. And we went into the school, and fortunately, I got to give them credit. The school took care of it immediately and did it the way they should. They brought everybody in, explained to everybody what was going on. It actually had a happy ending. He ended up friends with the kids that were bullying him. But no, he never. There would be no reason for him to get into a fight. He liked getting along with everybody. Jack says, I've never been a fan of hitting kids. I've been a foster carer, teacher, and educational psychologist. If it's your only option, then the parent has messed up somewhere down the line. See, I can only speak from personal experience, and I would disagree with that though, Jack, only because, and again, I'm not a proponent of hitting kids in general. As I said, Jack's kid never got spanked in his life. It's all to the individual for me, but I appreciate the fact that I got spankings because it taught me that there are ramifications for my actions. And I was just the type of kid, if you weren't willing to do something extreme, I wasn't going to stop doing the bad things. And I like having been taught that, okay, if you're going to do something wrong, there's a reason we're telling you not to do that. It's unsafe, whatever the case may be. And we're telling you, don't do it or there will be ramifications. If the ramification wasn't a spanking, I wasn't going to stop doing it. So for me, it taught me something that I think I needed to learn. John Bob says, I was afraid of swallowing gum as a kid. Now I'm going to make a guess here, John Bob, probably for the same reasons of the things we heard. We used to hear stupid shit when we were kids that if you swallow gum, it's going to stick to your stomach and you won't be able to poop and stuff like that. And you can't swallow gum because basically the sticky element of it is going to fuck up your internal organs. We actually got told that by adults who believed it. Now, because again, I was this stupid kid, I was like, that sounds stupid. And I would swallow my gum and not even worry about it. But we were told that stuff. Jack Queen says, another thing I've noticed is most adults who are beating as kids say they needed it. But now that's what I'm saying. I wasn't beaten. There's a difference between beaten and spanked. Something is very messed up somewhere. See, I don't think, in my case, it's not messed up at all. That was who I am. I don't think it was a result of anything other than whatever is native inside of me. But if I wanted to do the stupid thing, I was going to do it. If you didn't make it very clear to me that there was going to be an extreme reaction, punishment for my actions, I was just going to keep doing it. And to me, getting the spankings and learning that if I do something wrong, there will be a price to pay was very worthwhile. I don't know how things would have turned out differently for me if my parents weren't willing to do it, because I would have just kept doing the bad things over and over and over. Alpha says, I had gotten food poisoning when I was younger, and the potent brain fog made me feel like a huskless body with my mind trapped in a perpetual haze. That's creepy. That type of thing freaks me out. Any type of situation where you aren't in actual control of your body and what's going on around you, and like a sleep paralysis or something. I've never had it. That stuff freaks me out. Oh, no, no problem, Jack. He says, sorry, I messed up somewhere in the literature as opposed to real life. Seems to be a disconnect somewhere. Yeah, and it's important to note too, because I don't want anybody to take that the wrong way. Again, I'm not only I'm not a proponent of beating kids. It infuriates me to the point where I want to do really bad things to adults who will hit kids, who will beat kids. But what I got weren't beatings. They were deserved spankings, given to a kid that needed that. As like I say, and don't get me wrong, and it's something we could go into a whole different time. It's a whole story unto itself. My father had a lot of elements about him of which I don't approve and didn't approve. But that part, if you do this, you're going to get a spanking. Again, I am grateful I had, because I just know myself, and I would have turned out as a different person if I hadn't had that forced into me that if you do wrong things, there will be a significant price to pay. Jack says, having said all that, spank me, Daddy. Madmint says, I used to be scared of drugs. Now whenever you get scared, I do drugs. Isn't it weird how life just irons all that out sometimes? I do drugs. I know what you meant. So, sometimes everything just comes around into a perfect circle, Madmint. Philip says, I've only been spanked once, and I can't remember what exactly for, but I do know I was being such a brat that time out just didn't cut it. Yeah. And I think it's true too. I think with some people, with some kids, you get to that point that, and this is just my opinion, that Philip's talking about, and it's like, okay, now you're going to get a spanking. Some kids only need to be spanked once, and they're like, okay, I won't do bad things anymore. Those are the smart kids. I was not one of those smart kids. I would, because I remember distinctly, I would test the waters. It's like, okay, how much trouble am I going to get into? You know, if I, okay, I wasn't supposed to have this firework, and now I really want to light the fuse. If I get caught blowing up this firework and blowing up my Hot Wheels track with it, I'm going to get in trouble. How much trouble? It's enough to get me a spanking. Maybe I won't do it. Those were the thought processes. Mortem says, I was scared of talking to people as a kid. I was also scared of change. I now realize that it was because of my autism. I'm more relaxed and more happy in life now. Oh, that's good that you've been able to come to grips with that. Yeah, well, when, again, with autism, then obviously you're up against it even more so, you know, because what that affliction adds to an already complicated life for all of us. Excuse me. Jack says, my dad was an utter alpha male, LOL, like an evil genius. My mom left when I was 3, and he raised me by himself, and I had serious anger issues, yet he could control me with a look. Still don't get it. Yeah, my father was big on that stuff too, on trying to be the intimidator, and outside of, again, the spankings I got, but he would try and do that in other elements of life as well. Didn't really bother me either way. The things that bothered me about my father were he would profess himself to be the ultimate family man, and his family came first, and blah blah blah, but it was never enough to get him to hold a job. So we were always struggling and stuff because he just didn't like to have to get up every day and go to work. And so there were a lot of things like that I just didn't respect. Till the end of time says, my biggest fear as a child, drug grandfather, DEA. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's, yeah. Sometimes, a lot of times, unfortunately, I think family can deservedly be our biggest fears. Wolfpaw says, Jim Carrey used to scare the hell out of me as a kid. He still scares the hell out of me. He's so weird. Big Green says, I never swallowed gum, not because of the horror stories about it, but rather the one time I did, it felt really gross in my throat. That's true. So I never did it again. That would have been weird if I made a typo. Yeah, really. No, we used to get that. I don't know. Some of the stuff that my parents, you know, that next generation up believed were just so bizarre. That whole thing about gum, they would tell you that not to scare you. They thought it was really going to fuck up your internal organs. Didn't realize that, you know, your body was just going to break it down like it would any other food. What was one of the others? My grandfather, he used to go nuts if you drank while you were eating. You're not supposed to do that. It's unhealthy. I don't know who the fuck told him that, but he used to go crazy with it. He would get up from the table because my cousin and I would be drinking our drink while we're eating. Oh, you don't know how bad that is for, and my grandmother would yell at him and tell him to shut up. Say, Ed, stop it. Leave them alone. If they want to drink while they're eating, just let them. But it's bad for you. Don't worry about it, Ed. And he would get angry. I don't know who told him that or why he believed that, but he was dead set on it. Kaiser says, my biggest fear as a kid was the concept of the sun burning out and the heat death of the universe. It made me feel nihilistic. That's, I sometimes the big things, the big fears, the universe fears can really, they're difficult to deal with because talk about entire helplessness. If your fear is the sun burning out, it's not like with me where I told you about that fear of circles in perfect organized structure where you can just look at pictures and get over it. Time Link says, I used to be scared my mom would die and would be raised by a family member. That's understandable. That's understandable. Yes, John and Bob, my family did that same stuff. My grandpa would tell me, don't ruin your fingers by cracking your knuckles. My parents told me that all the time. And it's just metacarpal fluid popping, of course. But oh yeah, they tell you if you crack your fingers by the time you're 50, your hands are going to be all disjointed and creepy. And oh yeah, I used to get that all the time. Could be. Stormstar says maybe it's a watered down version of the don't eat before swimming myth. Who knows? I to this day, Stormstar, I have no idea where he came up with that. But he was convinced it was terrible for you. And I don't mean that to disparage my grandfather at all. He was a great man. He really was. But so let's see. When my grandfather was from an era not far removed from leeches in the doctor's bag. So. Jack says, wait, is that not true? Hi, Chrome. Glad you're in. HD says, I once watched all Happy Sugar Life episodes in one go on Halloween. I couldn't sleep without light for 3 days straight. Happy Sugar Life? I never heard of that one either. Hold on, I want to look that up. Happy Sugar Life. What is that one, HD? Happy Sugar Life. Sato Matsuzaka is a beautiful high schooler and has a reputation for being permissive with men. Oh my. However, chance encounter with a young girl named Shiokube makes Sato realize this is their first and only true feeling of love. Okay, I can see where this got scary. Stormstar says, scared of the dark. As a young kid was playing in a small store and I got locked in pitch black storage cupboard. Oh shit. Was in there for an hour and they had to use a sledgehammer to get in. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's sometimes the traumatic event in life entirely explains the fear that follows. Chrome says, I'm having ramen, kind of. I've told you guys that before. Surprisingly for me, I like ramen. Now I've only had it with, those stupid little ramen packs that every college kid has, but I kind of like it. Dimmy says, my granddad had these fake bottom teeth that were long, like two long fangs on his bottom teeth. He used to tuck his upper lip in to show them, then flip his eyelids and chase me. Oh, well, terrified me. That's kind of a fun grandpa, though, Dimmy. That's kind of fun stuff. Oh, shoot. Jill says, the world ending like fire and brimstone falling from the sky. Yikes. Every time I saw an airplane in the sky reflecting the sun, I freaked out because I thought it was something called Armageddon. That sometimes it is funny how sometimes the fears we have are the big fears. And you think about it, the universe, the cosmos, is a pretty scary place, actually. Chrome says, so I go onto Twitter and this is the first thing I see. Okay, hold on, let me see what Chrome's link is. It is? I don't know what that word is. I'll see what Chrome's link is. Mississippi News anchor Barbie Bassett fired for saying faux shizzle my nizzle live on air when discussing Snoop Dogg's new wine collection. She's been a news anchor. But why? And I'm being serious. Why would that be offensive? That was, we all know Snoop was the faux shizzle, man. I gotta listen to this.
About that. Come up with.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Before we know it, she'd have a Snoop Dogg tattoo on her shoulder.
A shizzle, my nizzle.
I'm telling you. Julie, what you think about that? Huh, she says.
Well, get this.
Come up with.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Before we know it, she'd
there, guys? Yeah, I thought that's what somebody in the comments wrote. For sure, my friend. That's what she said. Anyone in college or high school in the 80s would understand the term. Because that's one that I really I don't understand. I thought that was fun and playful. I didn't think that was offensive in any way. Because Snoop Dogg is, he's legendary for the whole faux shizzle stuff. Oh, I didn't know that. Chrome says nizzle is a slang version of the N-word. See, now I'm stupid. I didn't even know that. I hadn't heard nizzle anyway. I had heard bizzle. I remember you always just say faux shizzle, my bizzle. Or somebody used to say that because I remember that. But, okay. Yeah, cringe definitely, Tsunami. Cringe definitely. But I didn't realize that. If nizzle is supposed to equate to the N-word, okay. Wolverine says, I'm going to say the N-word. Ningen. Oh, I didn't know that. But even, certainly it seemed innocent. I wouldn't have known. Although I didn't know, I knew faux shizzle. I didn't know nizzle anyway, but I wouldn't have known that. Chrome says it is cringe, but honestly, it shouldn't be fireable. No, I wouldn't think so. I would have honestly thought in hearing that it was just kind of a silly homage to Snoop, because of the things he brought to the language. That's all I would have thought. Huh. That's I feel bad for that lady because I feel certain she didn't mean to be offensive. Because again, that could have been me. I didn't know that. I didn't know that nizzle was a term for the N-word. But then again, I didn't even know if I'd have said my nizzle, it would have been something I thought I was making up because I didn't know it was a word. Till the End of Time says, my other fear as a child was watching the Making of Thriller Michael Jackson video when he turned a werewolf. That was scary. I remember that distinctly. The making of video, that was really scary. They did a hell of a job with that. Excuse me, sorry guys. That whole Michael Jackson Thriller video was quality fear. And I know exactly what you're talking about with the way they did the makeup and everything, and he did that change. That was good. That change to a werewolf and the American Werewolf in London, that transformation was really scary too. Tony Texas says even Snoop wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't think so. But then again, maybe I just don't know. Because now the one guy on set had to look like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. But again, it could just be because maybe I'm duh. I just didn't know. I just would have taken it as, an homage to Snoop. Excuse me. Mortem says, I remember having a lot of anxiety and depression as a kid. I actually wore through the inside of my shoes because I always used to scrunch my feet up in my shoes because I got stressed at times. That's terrible. That's especially when it's kids to have to live with that kind of anxiety. That's awful. Jill says, saying something that would trigger my dad's PTSD. He was utterly horrific with it. Didn't get therapy for years, and it seemed like everything was a trigger for him. That's rough too. Having to, tiptoe around somebody in your family. Yeah, that's just a really difficult way for a kid to have to live. Oof. Austin says, favorite scary movie or any other movie? Well, the scariest of the slasher movies I said earlier was Chucky, was Child's Play stuff. My favorite scary movie of all time is, name's gone right out of my head. Come on. The Stephen King novel turned into a movie with Jack Nicholson. The Shining. The Shining is my favorite. Hornby Man says, do you have wood louse? Or was that I don't know what it would be. Woodhouse spider in America? Are those giant ones? No, because my wife wouldn't live in America if we did. if those are the ones I'm thinking of. She's seen video of them and stuff, and she almost cries. She gets so scared. Evgeny says, sounds like you and Brax are like Goku and Gohan, and how you feel about fighting. Yeah, yeah. And like I say, Brax just always, he's a good kid. I mean, I don't say that just because he's my son. He is. He's a genuine person, and when Brax meets somebody, he wants to be their friend. I mean, he's just always been like that since he was a little kid. He doesn't want to fight with anybody. He doesn't have my temperament, which I'm very thankful for, and he certainly doesn't have my way of looking at how things should be handled on a daily basis. In other words, now don't get me wrong, nobody's a saint. Brax will have a little bit of road rage like anybody else. Somebody cuts him off or something. But whereas me, it's all I can do to not actually have a confrontation. With Brax, it's just like, oh, you asshole, and then he forgets about it, as a normal, well-adjusted person should. Chrome says it's a ramen broth with beef I'm having. Ooh, noodles and a veg mix of beans, sprouts, and mushrooms, also cabbage. You had me with ramen broth and beef. Alpha says, I was about to say The Shining must be seared into the subconscious horrors of society. And the big thing for me in that, Alpha, was Nicholson's performance was just so goddamn brilliant. When you have one of the scariest scenes in that movie doesn't even have any lines, you delivered. Because it's when the camera's close on the maze and Shelley Duvall and the kid there are running around the maze and playing, and they slowly pull back, and you see that it's actually Jack Nicholson looking down at the diorama of the maze, and you see he's just completely fucking gone just by the expression on his face. And that's one of the scariest parts of the movie, and he doesn't even say anything. He might be a weirdo. Nicholson too. That Nicholson, he's a pain in the ass. Nicholson always seemed to be kind of a little bit of a weirdo, a lunatic to me. But goddamn, he's a brilliant actor. Woof, woof. Jack says The Shining is a figurative wonderland, psychologically speaking. It's art. Couldn't agree more. Just amazing, amazing movie. All right, guys. Well, I gotta go. This is another fun stream. This is a good time. Now we'll be doing some streams coming up, for the podcast. Might be topics similar to this. I think I've thought about it more and more with the podcast streams. I think we're gonna do more of the stuff that we tend to really have enjoyed here over time, like when we're talking about, do you believe in ghosts? Talk about the aliens, things like that. More so than the heavier political stuff. Everybody in the world's talking politics and it never gets anybody anywhere. I tend to enjoy things, well, even like this probably would have been a really good podcast episode. But I knew we'd want to talk on this for a while, and the podcast episodes I keep a little shorter than the regular stream, so I thought this would be a fun topic. It ended up being a blast, and now I have a whole bunch of new stuff to be afraid of, and thank you guys for that. Now I can't even enjoy silence. And Jack, just so you know, you got me scared of silence. Right as during this week, my wife is going to go up to New York to be with my granddaughter for some of her competitions and stuff for several days. So the house will be silent a lot. So thanks for that, pal. if I just don't show up one day and you guys don't see vids, don't see any live streams or anything, I'm hiding under my bed till my wife gets home. So the house will still stop being silent. And you guys can all yell at Jack for it. Yeah. if I don't show up, I want you guys to be all burning torches at Jack's house. Hey, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun, a really good time today. And I will talk to y'all real soon.